I think some people, maybe they've flown on their friend's particular airplane. And so they think, that's the airplane I need. Yeah. I love this airplane. When you get to how many passengers, what's your budget, where are you trying to go to, you'd say, hey, that one's probably not the best for you. Here's a couple other models that may work better.
Welcome to Own the Jet by Aspen Aero Group, where we share perspectives from some of the leading voices in private jet ownership and business aviation. I'm your host, Derik Savage, along with my co-host, Jason Spoor, president of Aspen Aero Group. Our guest today is John Owen, the CEO of Airshare. Airshare is an industry leader in fractional aircraft ownership and is able to provide its members access to a worldwide fleet of expertly managed business jets. Join us as we dive deep into the mechanics, mindset, and moments that define jet ownership. And together, we'll learn what it takes to own the jet. John Owen, welcome to Own the Jet. Thank you for joining us, man.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
And the first thing I want to point out, dude, check out these boots. Can you show the boots? These are amazing. So I'm originally from North Texas. Yeah. I respect it, man. So thank you for coming out.
Absolutely. Thanks.
And so you're the CEO, for the uninitiated here, you're the CEO of Airshare, right?
Yep.
And you guys do a variety of things having to do with fractional ownership and like card memberships and all that.
Aircraft management, charter. Yes, we're one of the few that do everything under one roof, and it was kind of strategic like that. We were a fractional business for most of our existence, and then kind of in the middle teens, 2000 teens. We decided, we've got this small aircraft management business on the side, decided we really liked that side of the house and started pumping, a little more effort into that. And then the charter kind of came along the way. We had a bunch of managed aircraft that wanted charter on them. So we actually, the businesses were two different names, two different websites. We had Executive Airshare, which is what everybody knew us for a long time. That was the fractional side of the house. Yeah. Executive Flight Services, which was pretty much an unknown management company. Back in, I think, 2018, we decided to rebrand the business, everything under Airshare, and put this complementary suite of services together because we just saw, the migration up and down and people sharing the services. And so it's worked out great.
So it started in
2000. Yeah, so 26 years old now, yeah.
Wow.
And so you came into it from a finance perspective, right? You're most people that we talk to on this show, they're like, I'm a pilot, I've been a pilot since I was 12 years old, and I love airplanes and everything like that, but that's not you at all.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
No, we love those people.
Yeah.
But you're more coming in from a finance perspective, right?
Yes. I never thought I'd be in private aviation, didn't expect to be in private aviation, and background was accounting firms, finance firms, consulting firms, and was actually hired to find Airshare a CFO. I was doing some consulting work, helping companies build out their executive teams, and Airshare called and said, hey, we're looking for a CFO, and I started talking to them, and I was like, I'm born and raised in Kansas City. The company's headquartered out of Kansas City. Had no idea who they were. Had been in trucking for a minute, and so.
So you were a truck driver?
No, almost.
Okay.
Been in a truck, but it's based on my experience doing that, the private aviation side is almost identical from a financial standpoint. And so after talking to them, loved the business, saw the opportunity in it, and said, hey, I know you tried to. You need me to help you find one, but I think I'm your guy. So took over the CFO role, and then about a year and a half in, took over the CEO role.
Nice. So since 2000 till 2026.
Yep.
Growth.
Yes. I'd say the first probably 10 years, pretty slow. These guys, well before I got there, made a brilliant decision to kind of put their money into this little-known airplane called a Phenom back then. And so they took on Phenom 100s and Phenom 300 deliveries, and then from there the business really catapulted for several years.
And that was Jet Card.
That's in the fractional space. Yeah. So that was still kind of a fractional business back then.
Yep.
And then it grew very steadily over time. And then some new investors came in 2016 and decided, hey, let's do a little bit more of this. But back then, really till I'd say almost 2020, we were 98% of our customers were Kansas, Missouri, Oklahoma, and Texas.
Okay.
And you know, when I took over, we put a new team together and decided, okay, this is a great business. Customers loved it. Net Promoter Score, if you guys know what that is, through the roof.
I'm a marketing guy, man.
Yeah. So always had world-class Net Promoter Scores, just nobody knew about us.
Yeah.
And really, we had a fleet that wasn't conducive to going national.
Okay.
So part of what we did back then was we had 5 aircraft with 6 different type ratings.
Yeah.
Very complicated. Very inefficient. So we migrated that fleet into all phenoms, and then from there was able to expand into new territories. You know, obviously purchased the Wheels Up aircraft management business a few years ago, which took the entire business national. And then from there we had added a super mid class of airplanes, the Challenger 350, now 3500 in the fractional space, and knew we needed a bigger airplane that can go coast to coast for that. So then right on top of going national with management, we did national with fractional, and so now we're full blown, national business now, top 10 operator. It's been fun.
Nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
it's fun.
That's a good place to be.
Yeah,
It is.
yeah.
So if I mean, thinking about this from the perspective, and I try to come at this from the perspective of I'm considering owning a jet, right? So hence the name of the show. If I'm on that journey myself, let's say, and I like to put myself in the shoes of maybe I am a business owner that's had some success and I need to get to meetings with, prospects and clients and things like that, and private aviation is the way to go for me. If I'm not ready yet to go whole hog ownership of a jet, is that where I would meet someone like you and Airshare?
Yeah, so I think there's a lot of companies out there that may just do aircraft management or just do charter, and they'll tell you should only own your own airplane. Since we do everything under one roof, what we like to do is sit down with the prospect and say, well, how much are you going to use it? Where are you going to go? What size of aircraft do you need? What's your budget? And then based on that, we'll tell you, hey, we think that owning your own airplane may not make sense yet. Maybe you should be in the fractional or jet card program. But they may decide to own their own airplane, which is fine. But now they've gone into it eyes wide open. But what we see probably most of is somebody that just starts using it ad hoc. So they'll call our charter services team, and there may be a business location that's really hard to get to.
Okay.
And so they said, you know what, I want to try this thing out. I got 4 or 5 people. They need to go to somewhere in nowhere, Montana, that's hard to get to. It'd take them a day or 2 to get there. They charter that. They see the benefits of, shrinking a 3-day trip into a 8-hour trip with private aviation. And from there, they typically start chewing off a little bit more charter. And once they do that, our team will say, hey, if all you want to do is charter, great, do that. But we have a better program for you that provides you more access. It provides you a confined fleet of phenoms and challengers, and then we'll see them move into that, and then they'll start to really use it. And then they'll buy several shares into that, and then we kind of tell them, hey, you know what? You're starting to use enough to where now it makes sense to own your own airplane. Now, whether they ever do or not, they can stay in the fractional program as long as they want, and then they'll buy their own airplane. We'll buy their shares back. We'll help consult them and buying a new airplane and.
So that's the journey.
That's the journey.
Start to finish.
Yeah, a lot of up. There's some down too.
Yeah, like a one-stop shop.
It's a one-stop shop. Yeah.
Okay.
Come in, try it out, and then you get hooked. And
Yep. Well, and we have planes that we manage. Big companies that we manage their airplane for. That sometimes one airplane's not enough, and they need a second airplane. So they'll have a supplemental fractional share in our program, so then they can access that whenever they need to.
So they may not need. It's like they've got their plane, maybe their business with several executives or something, right?
Yes.
And they own a plane. They're not ready for a whole fleet, but sometimes this plane's being used by one person and somebody else has to.
Or a lot of times in the big corporations, the executives are the only ones that can use the fleet, the airplane that they own, and then so they'll buy a fractional share for some of the management team or upper level management team that they can go up, that they can use it with to get out there. Yeah.
Nice. And I've had conversations with Jason too about because one of the conversations we've had on this show is when do I know I'm ready to own the jet? And one of the first things he's telling me is, well, maybe you want to charter a few first. Yeah. Maybe you want to consider fractional. Yeah. So this would be the path. Yeah,
because I think some people, maybe they've flown on their friend's particular airplane, and so they think, that's the airplane I need. Yeah. I love this airplane. When you get to how many passengers, what's your budget, where are you trying to go to, you'd say, hey, that one's probably not the best for you. Here's a couple other models that may work better. So yeah, it's really, people say this word all the time. I think it's a little bit overused, but it's a very consultative approach to owning an airplane or being in a program. Like, because again, we don't care which one you're in. We just want you in the right one at the right time for what you need. Yeah.
That makes So instead of coming in and throwing down 10 million and just
and realize
chewing it
there's
off.
some heavy maintenance events in there that that are pretty expensive, and pilots sometimes are hard to get. Like, let us do all that. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, let's say on the other end, let's say you did throw down 10 million, right? Now I have a jet. Maybe I don't need to fly as much as I thought, right? What are my options with that?
So it depends. It works a lot like a vacation home rental. If you're not using it very much and you want to VRBO it out, several weeks out of the year, do that. Same thing with a jet, as if maybe you only fly it 50 hours a year, and so now you got another 250 hours of capacity in there with a couple pilots. So why don't you put that in the charter pool, and with our charter team, we can drive business to that to help you offset your cost. Yeah, or sometimes it's if that's all you're going to fly and it doesn't make sense to own your own airplane anymore, then kind of on the way down, we'll introduce them to a broker, and so they'll sell the airplane for them, and then once the airplane's sold, then they'll move into a fractional program that fits their needs more at that time.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So how do I know, like how if I'm vetting myself, right? If I'm saying I think I'm ready for this, I think I want to get into fractional ownership. Or even the jet card. Is there a specific name for your type of jet? Do they have branded jet cards, or are they just all called?
Ours is just our fractional jet card. Yeah, that's in our fractional fleet.
Is that something you thought about branding?
What's that?
I don't know. Just your type of.
We had a name branded to it, but I don't. We're getting rid of that because it doesn't really do much. Yeah, everybody just knows jet cards.
Jet card's a jet card. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's like a Metro card or something. Okay.
There's been several companies with jet cards, right? So
okay. So that's not a thing. Okay, but having that membership card, the jet card to do the thing, how do I know if I'm ready for something like that? Like, how do you ask people to vet themselves for these things?
Yeah, well, I think the jet card is a perfect entree into the fractional space, because you get access to that fractional fleet, but you're only committing to, in our program, 10 days. So if you use up your 10 days, and you're like, you know what, this isn't for me, great, that's fine, go back to charter, or if you really want to own your own airplane. But sometimes it's a little bit of a try before you buy. So before you write that big check for the share, before you commit yourself to 5 years of monthly management fees in a program like that, then try us out with the 10-day jet card, and you're gonna like it.
So does the jet card have?
You're gonna move up. Yeah.
So there's different. My assumption then is I'm totally new to the idea of jet card. So I pay you to get a jet card, which is access to the fleet,
yes,
right?
Yeah.
And then along with that, it comes with like 10 days of use.
So if you think of charter is ad hoc. You buy one trip and you're done. A jet card, you're just pre-packaging a certain amount of access. So you're committing yourself, which then locks you in rates. And in our particular program, our fractional program, it locks you into combined fleet. Then you're flying on Airshare branded airplanes with Airshare employees.
Is it use it or lose it, or like how does that work?
In
our program, you got 2 years to use 10 days. So it's
So it's a day.
So that's a good point.
Not
so
hours?
That's the one big differentiator between Airshare and everybody else is everybody else sells buckets of hours.
Okay.
We sell buckets of days. Where that came from is in 2000, it was really built on for businesses. So so those companies that were going out and back. And so you bought the day. So in our program, you could use as many hours in a day. So we have tons of businesses in our program that if you bought into one of their competitors' shares, you get 50 hours of access for the year. In our particular program, in our fractional program, you get 20 days of access a year. But you can use as many hours as you want. So if you need to hop around to several locations, if you're in New York and you've got a meeting in Denver and you're going out there and you're flying back, well, we have customers that get 100 plus hours out of a single share, and in order to do that in another program, you're taking, say the share is $1.5 million, you're paying $3 million for 2 shares, you're paying twice the monthly management fee, and so you're getting a lot less out of your program. But it still works for, we have, probably half of our customers are still personal leisure flyers that have those longer legs that make sense.
So if I were to buy this and let's say I burn through my 10 days, I'm assuming there's ways, I want to upgrade to the 20 day. What's the At what point have I bought so many days that you're like, you know what? Let's look at fractional ownership.
Yeah, I think you said it perfectly. Like if we see, hey, you bought a 10-day jet card and you've rolled through that in 6-7 months, we'll come to you and say, hey, if all you want to do is keep re-upping and buying jet cards, that's fine. Do whatever you want.
Sure.
But now you're starting to make sense to where it looks like you're going to fly that 20-day-ish hours or 20 days a year. And so we would recommend being in the fractional program. But I mean, we have people that do both. So
is there any difference besides the math?
The jet card will be a little bit more expensive just because obviously less commitment.
Right.
But the flying experience is exactly the same.
Okay. That's what I was getting to.
And I would assume that charter is going to be more than the jet card.
Yep. So typically, depending on what you're getting. Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, the charter costs more than the jet card. The jet card costs more than the fractional. The fractional costs more than, as far as like per flight or whatever, right?
Yeah. Kind of the all-in number. Yeah. Depending on how much. If you're using it the right way, yes, that's the idea. Is the higher you go up in the pyramid, the less expensive all-in.
So if I'm going through this process, right, and I'm using all my days on my jet card and I decide to get into fractional, the experience is the same though. It's the same, like you got your fleet of
Airshare
jets.
branded airplanes.
Okay.
Yes, you've just bought into the program to be able to acquire more access during the year.
And now one thing that we were talking earlier, and you kind of explained this a little bit to me, because I totally didn't understand the concept of fractional ownership as it pertains to being a part of a fleet.
Yep.
I assumed, and wrongly, that fractional ownership meant there was a plane, a jet, that I would own like a quarter of a share of, and then that would always be the plane that I'm taking somewhere.
No. First part's right. Yeah, you own that particular airplane, that tail. You actually take physical title to it.
Right.
But you may never fly on that airplane because you've bought access into a fleet. Now, all the airplanes are basically the same, so... but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
So your fleet, smallest to largest?
We've got, a little over 100 airplanes in the fleet, and it goes anywhere from turboprops, which we only have a couple of, all the way up to the large cabin, ultra long range, Globals, Gulfstreams, Falcons, and then obviously everything in between. From a total fleet perspective, about 3/4 of them are in the aircraft management side, so airplanes that we're managing for other people, and about 1/4 of them are in that fractional fleet.
Do I have to be in a location that you are located in order to join this program?
Not like in the old days, yes, not anymore.
Okay.
We have a floating fleet, so we'll sell you if you're in South Florida to Oregon to New York to everywhere in between.
How does that work? Let's say I'm in Indianapolis, right, and you don't have operation. I don't think you do you, in Indianapolis?
Yep. Oh, yeah.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yep.
Well, let's say I'm in. Where don't you have, like Chicago? Right.
There too.
Well, damn.
I mean, if you're anywhere in the 48 states, you can be a pro.
What I'm getting at is, what if you don't have a plane here and I want to go?
So then that's on us. So part of what we have to do is officially operate the system. So if you call on and you say, hey, next Tuesday, I want to go from Indy and I want to take my family down to South Florida. Well, it's our responsibility, and that's the hardest part of the business, is making sure you're operationally efficient with everything. So we've got a giant ops center where that's all they do is take the demand coming in, your trip coming in, look at the aircraft available, look at the crew available, combine all that, and then it's from what we want to do is make that as efficient as possible. So find an airplane and crew that's as close to Indianapolis as possible,
right,
to come pick you up and then take you to Naples or wherever you want to go, and then from there the team's got to figure out, okay, where does that airplane and crew go next? So it's but you're only paying for the time you're in the air. It's on us to make sure that we're efficiently moving these airplanes where they need to be.
Okay, so that doesn't work until you have a certain number of airplanes and can kind of guarantee that.
Well, and it's why we were in the center of the United States for so long, is because we had smaller fleet types, which didn't have the range, and we weren't going to go national until we got the Challenger in the mix that could go coast to coast. And so then now our smallest airplane is the Phenom 300, which still has a great 4+ hour range on it. But yeah, it's all about it's numbers. Like we're kind of data nerds in Airshare, and just we make decisions based on data and information, And honestly, probably never thought we'd really be a national program at this point. But looking at where our planes were flying, we'd see airplanes flying from Dallas all the way out to California, and then having to come all the way back to Kansas City for the next trip. We're like, well, we're flying over a bunch of fruitful territory where we should have customers to help us efficiently operate those airplanes. So we decided, we thought we'd probably do it in steps, and then figured out that the information was telling us, you know what, we need to do it day one. And strangely, going from just a handful of states to nationwide, our efficiency percentages have actually increased doing that. So a lot of times, if you've got the wrong fleet types in the mix, it can bury you pretty quick. For us, it was a benefit to go national.
In terms of where you can fly, is it anywhere? Or like if I want to go, I mean, I know I'm here in Indy and like, let's say I got a 10-day jet card. It's like, let's burn these 10 days going to like Iceland or something. Like, can you do that?
Yeah, we do Europe here and there, Hawaii, those kind of longer trips, maybe way down in the Caribbean. British Virgin Islands, because that's kind of the Challenger range. It's got 7.5 or so hours. If you want to do anything more than that, again, that's the nice thing about having the managed fleet. On top of it is we have a lot of long range, large cabin airplanes in there. So if for some reason, hey, the Phenoms and the Challengers work for 99% of your trips, but you've got a meeting in Hong Kong that you got to get to, well, then we can utilize our managed fleet that those owners allow charter, and so we can find you a Gulfstream or something to take you there. But yeah, the large managed airplanes are all over the globe all the time. The fractional fleet is primarily in the U.S. or kind of the surrounding areas, but we do some Europe trips here and there.
So you're running a worldwide operation.
Yeah.
It's
the small little business in Wichita 26 years ago.
From humble beginnings.
Yeah, been a ride. Yeah.
What's in the future, you think, for the fractional space when it comes to aircraft ownership?
For us, the future is exactly what we are right now. Like we went through a lot of iterations of fleet changes on the fractional fleet, growing our aircraft management business. We're putting a lot of money and effort into the charter business now that helps support aircraft management and everything else, and implement a huge technology stack that all talks to each other now. That's now finalized, really, honestly, as of this Monday. And so now it's like, okay, you know what? We're exactly who we want to be.
Nice.
Now we just want to be more of it, on the fractional managed or the charter side.
Well, that kind of brings to mind something too. You're not the only company that does this, right?
Right.
So what's your differentiator? What makes Airshare different?
On the fractional side, it's a day-based model. So if you're a business and not using us, honestly, you should be at least giving us a look, because our model is
You're just saying that because you're the CEO.
No, I'm telling you. If you ask any of our business customers, they'll tell you should use us. Because the other thing we do is, because it is operational efficient to start in one location and hop people around and get back to the same place, is there's no deadhead in there. So there's no non-revenue.
When you say deadhead, I'm thinking of a Grateful Dead fan. What is that?
I know. It's a strange term.
Can you explain that to me, please?
Yeah, I mean, it's just an airplane moving with no revenue on it, no passengers on it.
Okay.
So when you're a business, you've started out in New York and you're hopping around and you're going to end back home. Well, you've been on that airplane the whole time. Well, we pass those efficiencies on to you. So if you do that, we actually not only can you get a ton of hours out of the program, but we reduce that the hourly rate by 25%, because a lot of what's baked into that hourly rate is the inefficiencies of moving the airplanes. And so with us, if we win, you win. We pass that back on to our customers.
Do you find when people talk, and I realize you're coming from a finance background, and there's probably a lot of finance conversations and money conversations that go into this.
Yep.
Do you find that is the only, I don't want to say the only, but like the primary element that people are considering when they're looking at all this? Do they care that much about the lifestyle aspects, the luxury aspects, the perspective of their peers, and those types of things? Do those factor in very much to the decisions people make when it comes to that?
I think it's all that. And what's funny is it's usually dependent on location of where they live in the United States. Like,
really,
Kansas City's a place where you go there, they don't want you to know that they have their own airplane, that they're in a fractional program for the most part. If you go to some, higher cities, kind of higher profile cities,
Absolutely.
they'll show it off. They want you to know. I mean, it just depends. But I'd say for, most of our customers are pretty under the radar, kind of.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think people don't want other people to know?
I don't know. I think some of it is, I don't know. I think it's just, maybe they don't want them to know that they have as much money as they do. Maybe they, people have a negative perception of them. Sometimes you get an airplane and now all your friends call you and want to use the airplane.
That's probably
for businesses. I mean, businesses really use it to be efficient and to grow the business and to save time. But, from an employee perspective, they see it as, well, that seems like a wasteful expense, not knowing that, all those jobs that have been created over the last 5 to 10 years in that business are, partly due to having an airplane that can get these people to where they need to go at the time they need to go to.
Right. Get deals done.
And win the deals, right, that help grow the business. So, I think there's all kinds of reasons. But it seems that the stigma does seem to be kind of lessening over time, because I think people are seeing that it does create a lot of efficiencies.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
And, we got a lot of TV shows and movies and media that, portray corporate jets as being a high-end thing and ostentatious.
Well, I think it's the question of, is it a necessary thing, or is it just a big luxury that somebody's, rewarding themselves with? And I think that's really kind of what the conversation ends up being about.
And in today's world, though, it's definitely, especially the business world, it's definitely a need. Because you cannot rely on an airline to get you all around, like John said, all the travel you can do in a day on a corporate jet.
Well, if you're
people
competing,
people see the luxury of it, like, the Instagram photos, right? It's a big airplane with a couple Lamborghinis. I mean, that's a tiny piece of the business. What people don't see is there's a lot of smaller, really efficient airplanes that you can pack a whole lot of people into and get things done on the business side. And so it's not all this upper echelon, flashy type stuff. That's a very small piece of what we do. Most of it is just getting people around efficiently. It's just kind of that's more of what it is than anything.
If there's anything so if I'm looking to own a jet, right? If I'm going into this decision or trying to dabble in this world and I've never been there before, what kind of advice would you give to someone like me that's just getting into it for the first time?
Call us. Because I'm serious, because we can take you through the gamut of everything. If you go to a company that just sells aircraft management, they're going to tell you should buy your own airplane.
Sure.
If you go to a charter company, they'll tell you all you should do is charter. If you go to a fractional company, they're going to be like, this is the best thing since sliced bread. But with us, it's hey, we don't care what you want to do or how you want to spend your money. We just want you to go into the deal with eyes wide open, so you understand exactly what you're buying into. And you may buy the most expensive product because you want your own airplane, but at least you know the world of private aviation and your options. And we can give that to you because, again, we don't care which one you pick, just as long as you pick Airshare.
Any other closing thoughts as we wrap things up?
No, I appreciate you having us on. I mean, we were this small kind of, I think the moniker that we used to use is, hey, we're the best kept secret in private aviation, which I hated.
Right.
So we're like, hey, how do we not become the best kept secret in private aviation?
That's right.
And so,
Come talk to us.
We did, yeah. So we've done, now that we're nationwide, it's like, all right, we need to get our name out there, because we feel like if we're a part of the conversation, whether a new prospect, somebody that's coming into aviation that hasn't been here before, somebody that's very experienced in being in aviation, like we feel like if we're a part of that conversation, we're a very, very, very good option.
Yeah.
So what do you think we should start with? Charter? Or should we go get the jet card?
I'm thinking fractional. I want to at least a clear share.
I like it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's go big or go home.
All right.
I like it.
Done.
So if I wanted to get that conversation started,
yeah.
What's the best way for me to reach out to you?
FlyAirshare.com is our website, and you can get a picture of all the programs we have on there, and that'll guide you through the sales process. And we've got a team back in Kansas City that fields calls, and then we got salespeople all over the nation that can sit and talk to you.
So I go to the site, fill out the contact us form or whatever you got there.
FlyAirshare.com.
Okay, nice.
Love it.
Cool. John, thank you so much
thank you.
for joining us here on
Appreciate it.
Own the
Yeah,
Jet.
thank you very much.
And we look forward to getting that fractional share
I'll
from you.
send the
and,
contract right over.
Flying wherever we like. Awesome.
Go
Thanks
ahead and
again,
get your
man.
stuff.
Thank you very
All
much.
All right. Awesome.
Thank you for watching Own the Jet. If you want to see more Own the Jet, make sure to subscribe to our channel on YouTube and leave a comment telling us what aspect of jet ownership you'd like to know more about. Own the Jet is brought to you by Aspen Aero Group, your trusted partner in private and corporate jet ownership. Learn more at aspenaerogroup.com. This has been a Savage Media production.